Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Carlos Clanton, and today is Saturday, January the 9th, can you believe, 2021. Um, Getting the year started off by giving you guys updates as to what's happening, and even going to present my mid-year report to you all, and a progress report in regards to the items that I've listed as priorities and how we've been working on those. So giving you our progress report. I'm also going to share a little bit about our legislative agenda. As you know, the Virginia General Assembly is going to start its session in just a few days here, and let you know about the things that we're advocating for and how you can help support us as we advocate on the best interests of our students and our teachers here in Norfolk Public Schools. So look, I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to get right into it and get started here. So as we continue to move along, I would be remiss if I didn't make an acknowledgement about the incidents of this week and how they have adversely affected many of us, how emotionally just being able to see so many different things, and even just looking at our country right now and how this is a teachable moment for our students and our that we have charge and care to actually put them on the right path, to uphold our democratic values, to ensure that they understand that they have a voice and they have an ability to make their voices heard, or that they should not seek violence in order to make sure that those things are heard, invoking really the words and the spirit of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., that we can move forward together as a people, being able to bring together in a nonviolent capacity. A way of making sure that we cast our vote, that we continue to advocate, and we ensure that our voices are being heard in a reasonable manner. And with that, just so you know, we have a school board work session that's coming up this coming Wednesday. We will have an opportunity as a board to reevaluate and reassess some things and to begin to talk about a lot of different things that are going on. For those who are watching today, and if you're watching live, I encourage you to post questions and items as I go through priorities and as well as other different updates. I'd love to hear, share an opportunity to engage with you. And to be able to address any concerns, items, or questions that you may have as we begin to go through this particular year. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in here and get started and add this to our stream. There we go. So just want to remind folks that there's an opportunity for school board advisory committees. The board met back in December, and as we began to talk about school board advisory committees, we've got everything from special education, health advisory, gifted education, career and technical education. These are our advisory committees where you as members of the community have an opportunity to serve on these committees, be able to do research, look at various different items, and to bring I guess you could say suggestions and recommendations to the board for action and consideration. This is a great way if you're an advocate for public education, you're a parent and you want to be able to get involved in what's happening in Norfolk Public Schools. And as your policymakers at the school board level, this is a great way. So you can actually go to mtsk12.com. Also on my website, as well as on my e-newsletter. You can, and if you haven't signed up for my e-newsletter, I send out weekly updates. You can do that at my website at boardmemberclanton.com. So stay up to date what's going on. It's a great way of doing that. So just remind you all that we have school board advisory committees, and we're seeking individuals to be involved in that. The next item that we have there, the next item that we actually have for this coming year, as well as our school board advisory committees, and we're going to be talking about some recommendations that are coming up of some individuals, is Virtual Scholars Academy. As you all mentioned, you probably watched, the board actually voted on some adjustments to our return to school in-person plan. And one of those things was moving it from the green to bringing in some different moderate levels. But one of the things that I stressed during our discussion and deliberations as a board was reminding parents that you have the opportunity to maintain your students in the virtual scholars program all year long. That's open back up. So if you're a new parent to the district, or if you're a new parent to the district, or you want to make sure that your child remains virtually for the remainder of the school year, you have that opportunity. And again, you can go to the mpsk12.com website, click on the Virtual Scholars banner here, and it'll take you to the actual page where you can fill out the information. A process of that also is reaching out to your school principal for which your child is assigned, and then be able to go through the process there. But you can definitely find out more information at that site. So I encourage you to do that. The other thing that we have as a board that we are considering at this particular point in time, and I'm definitely looking for feedback, is the we are we're doing the MOU in regards to our SROs, which are resource officers in our schools. And so we've had a lot of discussion about that. If you have not taken the opportunity and provided feedback, we would very much like for you to do that. Those documents are listed. I've been engaging with community advocacy groups, stakeholders, with our principals, teachers, staff members, students who've actually reached out as well in regards to this particular item. And we definitely want to hear your input. The board will be taking this item up for consideration and action, and that will take place on January 20th during our regular scheduled board meeting. So if you haven't done so, we definitely encourage you to make sure that your voices are heard and that you provide feedback to us. The other item that I'm really excited about and I placed out here was one of the things that I'd asked our superintendent to do was to ensure that the dashboard in regards to the CDC's indicators for dynamic school decision making. And this is when we talk about that green, yellow, this is what all this means. And so this is directly on the MPS K-12 site, and you have an opportunity to be able to see every day. And as we're tracking that 14 days, and as well as the number of positivities and so forth, you can actually see that yourself as to how we're tracking and the data and information that we're tracking. And this is coming from the Department of Health, the State Department as well. So that information is there. Again, I'll talk about a little bit more in priorities. Definitely one of the things that I've been really focused on is being more transparent as a board to ensure that I'm advocating on your behalf to ensure that we place those things out there so that you can make decisions and that you can see the information and data for which we're grabbing and that we're making decisions based on. All right, this other one here is a bit of a PSA information out for you all. If you have or you know anyone in your community who has been adversely affected by COVID-19, loss of wages, I work for STOP Inc. I'm the Vice President of Organizational Development, and this is one of the things I placed out there. There are resources that came in the first round of the COVID relief package to provide relief, and one of those things is for utilities. So if you were behind because of loss of wages, employment, or whatever it may be, you can apply for assistance and be able to get support. So I encourage you all to please share that information out there, and you can do that by visiting that website, hrsd.com, CARES Act Relief. You can do that all the way up until January 27th or until all the funds have been exhausted. So if you know anyone, please share that information. This is actually on my Facebook page, and I encourage you, Twitter, so forth, to share that with individuals that if yourself or you know someone who's been adversely affected, to be able to get them the necessary help and resources and support. All right. So the other item for you all joining here today, and again, I thank everyone who's hopping on. One of the items that I wanted to, as I kind of went out on this journey to share with everyone, was really about and sharing with you all in respect to priorities and the things that I'm advocating for on behalf of you and the work that we're doing. Sometimes I think we get really busy. And sometimes it doesn't really get conveyed as to the actions that are taking place. You see that the board is having a meeting or we're doing some things, but it doesn't necessarily translate into how that is being actionable, how we're making results, how are we moving the needle and progress and so forth. And so I wanted to be able to give you guys an update to let you know what we're doing, how we're doing that. And so you will have that opportunity today. We're going to go through what I consider which are priorities here. That I've listed and I've been working on. I'm pulling that information up for you right now. And how we can, as a, so items that you may see, give me 1 second here, I'm pulling this up for you all. Things that you may see that we're working on, or even items that we might not have worked on that you say, Carlos, I don't see that that's up there. I think this is a priority that you should work on. Can you bring that up there and put that as a focus? So this is one of the things we'll be able to do. And this is an opportunity as we're engaging. So I want to kind of go through these things and give you some context and additional information as to what we're doing. All right, so here's my Ward 3 Schools 2020-21 Mid-Year Progress Report and the things that I've set out. So as a board member, even as a candidate for school board, I set out with a list of priorities. And those priorities were to prioritize teacher recruitment, training and retention. The other thing was to provide greater transparency and accountability, to cultivate a dynamic partnerships with our community stakeholders, expand early learning and career and technical education offerings within our school division, as well as implement and support strategies proven to increase reading, literacy, and math proficiency. The other item was provide opportunities for students to support student learning for all students, as well as to minimize external barriers to a child's ability to learn. And lastly, which I've added over this last year, which has been school construction and maintenance. And so we'll talk about that. I just want to also put in context here that you will be able to, after 12 noon tomorrow, be able to go to my website. I'll put a blast out about that. There is a tab on the website called Our Progress, and you'll be able to see all these items for which I'm talking about here today in my own type of dashboard, so that you'll be able to see it. I'll be able to, you'll see links that'll take you back to the actual actions, the items, so that you can be more informed about how we're doing things, but most importantly, how I am your school board representative for Ward 3 and working each and every day to advocate on your behalf and to ensure that your voices are heard. So let's jump right into this right now. So the first thing that I had down here was prioritize teacher recruitment and training and retention. And so what you'll see is I'll talk about the action that's actually highlighted, and then let you know whether or not it's been completed, in progress, it's ongoing, or if we haven't started at all. So one of the things I want to highlight is that I've supported teacher pay increases both in the fiscal year 1920 and fiscal 2020-21 budgets. And so that's been completed. And I'm currently right now in the progress for our fiscal 2021 should be 2022 budget priorities. I've listed teacher pay raises, one-time hazard pay, as well as fully funded gifted education teachers within our division. I make no mince that I started singing. Many of you all may know I sing with the Virginia Opera Company, but I started singing, and that really came out of my music classes back in elementary school. So I really understand the importance of being able to give a child every opportunity, their core education, but also being able to help them to expand upon the other things, their giftedness that helps with the educational process. The other thing is I moved for the creation of an asynchronous, non-teacher-led, that's what asynchronous means, Learning Wednesday and Teacher Professional Development Planning Day. I actually made that motion, and it was seconded by Dr. Gabriel. And so that's been completed, and we're going on ongoing. It's important in this particular virtual environment that we provide the necessary time for our teachers. Many of our teachers are not used to a virtual environment. And for my background is in training. I received my degree from Oldham University. And so I've literally gone through everything: curriculum development, classroom management, all those things, everything that a teacher went through. And one of those things was also a course in virtual learning. And so it's not as easy because you have to come up with different things to ensure that the students are engaged. You're making sure they're meeting their needs. And so we've at least completed that component. And I know that the division is continuously working to provide professional development for our teachers to aid them and assist them as we continue to move through this space. The other thing is I've advocated for the prioritization of teacher recruitment, training, and retention initiatives. Items that are in our budget, as our superintendent has brought those things before us. I've been a starch advocate for those, and I've done that in the past, and I'll continue to do that as an ongoing activity. The other item that I have here is greater transparency and accountability. I supported when I was serving as vice chairman and now still considering to serve as a board member, our school board accountability plan that was approved in 2019. The board had some discussion as well as reviewed and working with the administration, and we just updated and approved corrections to, additions to that to take into account that now we're not doing the State Department for the second time now has done away with, I wouldn't say done away, but kind of suspended the school accreditation process. As you know, we're in a virtual, so we also had to make some concessions in the respect of how that looks. And it's in regards to certain goals and objectives as to how we wanted to get to different places. So you will be able to see that school board accountability plan, but this was something that we wanted to do. Where are we trying to go? Make that very clear to the community, clear to our staff, and how we're going to get there. And that's really the how we're going to get there is where the superintendent and her administration comes into play. But that is out there for the community to see and for us to be transparent with that. Also, we have iDashboard, and that's the metrics and dashboards, which I talked about for dynamic decision making, and that's for our return to school process. But also, many of you all may not know, but the iDashboard is also available to you on your individual schools. You can see across the board very transparently how our students are doing, how our schools are doing, And so that is out there. And so we did complete updates to that, and that's been provided. The other thing was we adopted and announced the Restart Smart Plan for in-person learning that was presented by the National Urban League. I was the only board member and one of the first board members to come out looking at what was happening nationally, looking at the data, looking at the information. And I have stood beside that in the respect that we need to put health and safety first in any decision making, that we needed to make sure that we connected with our family and community, that we had their input. Third, that we were intentional. We had an intentional focus on equity. And that lastly, that we made sure the necessary resources and funding were in place to support the things that we said that we were going to do. So we have, you've seen that in our plans to come back in place. You've seen that those are the items that I've continuously brought up. And that's where my voting has been on behalf of all of our students, but most importantly, our families and teachers and students here in Ward 3. And so that's been completed and it's ongoing. I've also advocated for the creation and implementation of a district weekly COVID-19 reporting protocol. There was a report that came out that we weren't giving out this information. And so as a division, I thank our superintendent and her staff. They have continuously been providing that information out there as to what, if there's been any exposures, what that protocol looks like. And just as a reminder, if there has been any report of an exposure in one of our schools, there is literally a 24-hour that school is taken offline. They go through an extensive cleaning and sanitation process, and that school is reopened once that is completed. And we've been doing that, and we've been doing that ongoing. The next item that I had here was cultivate dynamic partnerships with our community stakeholders. And so I'm really excited. We finally have hired our Chief Communications and Engagement Officer, Ms. Kenita B. Matthews. And she's no stranger to the 757. She worked with the Hampton Road Show in her earlier career with Wavy TV10. Then moving into communications, school communications officer, have been in several other localities throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia. And we're happy to have her here to head and to spearhead our community communications and our community engagement. And so we're looking for some great things to come out for that. We've also advocated for more opportunities for public comment periods. One of the things that I stressed was to create a first and a second reading for major policy items, as well as the continuous engagement with community stakeholders, that when we know certain things are coming up that might be hotbeds in the community, that we actually take advantage of those opportunities to engage on the front end rather than in a reactionary, and to seek our stakeholders' input as partners in this particular process. Not necessarily that we're going to always agree, but that we're at least bringing individuals to the table, hearing their perspectives as we're continuously make the policy decisions for everyone. The other items down here is I've launched my Live with Carlos Clanton. If you're watching, you're witnessing that right there, as well as our weekly e-newsletters. I've placed that out there to provide information. So if you're not receiving that e-newsletter, you can definitely go to my website, and that's boardmemberclanton.com. You can go to that site and you can sign up. It should be a pop-up that comes up there if it's your first time there. I've spoken in person or via Zoom at civic leagues and community stakeholders and even some PTA meetings. I'm very much about the opportunity to engage and to be continuously engaged with individuals and to ensure that their voices are heard and that I'm hearing their concerns and suggestions. I've also maintained social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and even Periscope. And so if you're not following, it's actually scrolling across the bottom of the screen here. I encourage you to sign up and follow and engage with me there. I've also led this year's Bring Your Legislator to School Day, and we actually did that as a virtual opportunity, but this was an opportunity to really outline and lay out items in regards to our legislative priorities and agendas for Norfolk Public Schools. We're not only just advocating, we're policy making in our virtual school board meetings now, and we're not only just speaking with our members on City Council, but we're also advocating, and I know that I'm advocating with our state legislators as well as our federal legislators to ensure that they're informed about the concerns and how certain things will implement or affect here in the locality of Norfolk. And so we're continuously doing that. And this is no year being put aside, even though we had to be virtual. It was just a great way of our legislators being able to see how we're doing things in this particular way in a virtual environment. I've also created and helped and held Ward 3 schools and Booker T. Washington advisory task forces. And this has been a great way. And if you're interested, definitely email me, send me a message if you're interested in serving in one of those. But this has really become a sounding board. Booker T. Washington, when I first got on this board, was very, very vocal about some of the issues and the concerns that they were having. And so as a board member, I made a commitment because Booker T. Washington and Northview High School are both in my ward, to ensure that I engage with them. And so we're actually having a meeting on this coming Monday to talk about and update them on the status of the feasibility study phase 1 there. Also, I've led our board efforts on the development of our legislative priorities and agendas, working with Advantage Strategies. And we did that for the 2020 special session, as well as we're preparing for the 2021 regular session, which will start here in a couple days. The other item down here was expand early learning and career technical education, CTE opportunities. So I've advocated for the allocation to support a division-wide CTE study to examine the benefits and the potential of moving to a division academy structure at the high school level. We've for years been talking about the CTE high school, almost over 15 years here now. I am a product of CTE. I was the first and the only state president for the Virginia Technology Student Association when I was in high school at Maury from Norfolk. I still go back every year and I see the benefits of career and technical education opportunities to really open up and expand the minds of our students about the great opportunities that they have, not only just for college, but career and for life in itself. And so looking at other models out there and ways that how we can change how we deliver education, how we can, one, get more students to graduate on time, how we can keep students in school, and most importantly, when our students are prepared to leave out of high school, that they not only have their diploma, but they have certifications, and as well as they are ready if they want to pursue a college career, they can do that. If they're ready to go into the workforce, they can be able to do that as well. The other thing is that I've advocated at the state level for the expansion of pre-K through early education funding in the biannual budget. Know that with the COVID-19, a lot of the things that we were really getting in place were being taken out. And I know that the governor has made some budget amendments, and one of those areas that he's staying focused on and true to is in early education. So I'm going to continue to support that, continue to champion that, because if we can get to our students, get to our children early, 3rd grade, 4th grade, they are so much more ready by the time that they get into kindergarten, that it really sets them up with a great baseline, a foundation, so that they can be successful, so that they can actually meet the objective by the time that they are 3rd grade, that they are reading at or above the 3rd grade and writing level there. This, in many respects, you've heard the term, the prison to school to prison pipeline. Well, a lot of that measurement is done on a child's ability to read and write at the 3rd grade level. And so everything that we can possibly do on the early front end to ensure that students are prepared for that is a benefit for us all the way around. And so I'm going to continue to champion and advocate for those, as well as for our mixed income classes. This allows us the ability, not just low income, but also if we're in situations where we have some middle and different tiered systems, so that parents have a viable opportunity with a certified program for which they can place their children in. So the other thing is advocating for funding to expand early learning and reclaim lost mixed income classes. And I kind of mentioned that there not too long ago. So implement and support strategies proven to increase reading literacy and math proficiency. So I've supported the superintendent and will continue to support her in her new leadership structure, including the hiring of our new chief academic officer, Dr. James Paul, and as well as our chief schools officer, Dr. Lunell Gibson. This has been completed. They're there, they're working. And if you all actually tune into our school board work session this coming Wednesday, you'll be able to see the plans that they're doing. We're monitoring, and not just monitoring, but also coming up with strategies. The administration is bringing back valuable strategies as to how we can help support students who are falling behind or they're lagging. We're not the only school division. This is a national issue. The pandemic has really caused and really exacerbated an opportunity for students to fall further behind if in this particular situation. And so how do we engage those students? How do we make sure that students of color are logging on, that students have the necessary devices and the internet capability? How do we remove all those barriers that might be in the way? And so we're continuously looking at that. The staff and administration are bringing that back to us as a board. And I'll continue to ask for those things there so that we can make sure that necessary resources and items are in place to support our students. We're going to advocate for funding to support the superintendent's strategies, providing an increased student reading, literacy, math, and proficiency. Many of you may have seen some items in the respect of how we can, one of the things in regards to how we can work to close some of these gaps for which students are involved, that students are experiencing. And so I'm one to definitely look at and ask those questions as the superintendent continues to bring that back there before us. So yeah, and then the last thing is advocate and support district strategies to combat student loss as a result of the pandemic. And I kind of mentioned that there. So I'm going to take a brief pause because I'm looking and I think I've got some comments that are coming in and I want to make sure that I address some folks there. As we're moving along, okay, let's see if I got any comments that are popping up. So, all right, I see some people there. Mary Simpson, good morning. So Mary Simpson says there needs to be more support for special needs students. As you know, each individual learner is a different level. Many children are being left behind. Let me make sure I'm getting all of Mary's behind because individuals are not able to focus on one-on-one. What can be done about this? And Mary, I'm actually going to address that in one of the items that I talk about priorities. We are working, and as we've talked about our role back in-person learning, we put priorities with certain students there. But one of the things that I'll talk about here also is the respect that CSEP, which is for some of our most adverse students and some of their learning abilities. We work with many different students in that respect. And so I serve as the representative for Norfolk Public Schools on the CSEP board, and I had a lot of parents who reached out to me. But one of the things that that I was proud of in the respect is that we were able to work with those parents who really, in a respect, their students to be able to do virtual learning was not a viable option. They could not physically and in some respects, even mentally sit there in front of an actual screen and be able to do the work. And so we were able to work through some things there so that they have some hybrid abilities where we have some of the instructors who will be able to do some in-person learning and being in full PE and so forth. So we're going to continue to champion and advocate for those many different things to ensure that our students are receiving that. So I appreciate you bringing that up there, but definitely special education. I'm an uncle of a student who was special needs in Norfolk Public Schools. He received a wonderful education and opportunity. And I'm a strong champion of respect that all students, and I mean all students in Norfolk Public Schools are given that opportunity. So Mary, I appreciate you bringing that up and bringing that to the attention there. Again, if you're joining, I encourage you to, you can drop questions and so forth in the chat comment section. I'll make sure that I will bring those up and I'll be able to address those for you. So the next item that I wanted to talk about was provide opportunities to support learning for all students. And that kind of goes right back in to what I was mentioning with Mary there. We wanted, I represent NPS on a regional CSEP board, as well as I work with CSEPs and parents to provide opportunities for parent in-person learning for some of those students there where just virtual learning isn't a viable option. I'm going to continue to advocate for funding to support and increase or maintain art gifted, special and alternative education programs in our division. I see the benefits, and we cannot forget that every child isn't at the same level. And this is when we talk about equity. This is that difference between equality and equity, making sure that we provide the necessary resources and we direct those resources to ensure that every child has the opportunity to meet at their level and to exceed their expectations, and giving them the opportunity to be able to do that. I'm going to maintain focus on our equity throughout our division, and that's through our policies, procedures, actively renewing, reviewing, and identifying areas of consideration. I'm now serving as a member of the policy review committee for our school board. And so in many respects, I'm reviewing a lot of our policies. I'm going through our protocols. And one of the items that you'll see coming up, this is SRO, as well as our student suspension and disciplinary plans, and how we can be able to put more things in place, and where we may see opportunities where things are more adversely affecting our students. I strongly believe having a child in school, even with disciplinary options, of being able to provide alternative ways for them to learn so that they're not further behind. When we don't do that, this is how we increase our overage for grade. This is how we increase our student dropout rate, because you get to a certain point where a child loses the opportunity that they can even succeed because they're so far behind. But how do we capture them? Which just leads and it cascades into a whole other level of things that we just don't want. We want to make sure that all of our kids are prepared and that they can be successful. We're also looking at, I represent MPS on the regional board for the Governor's School for the Arts. I'm excited about that because I'm an alum of the board, alum of the school, class of '98 in our vocal music department. But my colleagues from other school boards elected me to serve as chairman this year. And so I'm doing that and representing Norfolk public schools as well. The other item I have down here is to minimize external barriers to a child's ability to learn. And that's advocate and ensure that all students attending Award 3 schools had access to a digital device and internet access for the beginning of the 2021 school year. We've done that, and I'm continuously doing that. We are making sure that if there were any barriers, that we eliminated those, bringing that forth to the board as a whole to ensure that there were resources in place. But not only did we do that for our Award 3 schools, we ensure that for all students across Norfolk Public Schools. And if you are in a situation, as we're beginning, we're back to school now, and you do not have a device or internet access, please contact your child's school and we'll make sure that we get them set up right away. Also, we've advocated for the expansion of student meal distribution sites, including weekend and holidays. I've worked with our superintendent bringing this up here, and I'm glad our child nutrition department throughout all of this have been there, those workers on the front line, ensuring that our students receive the necessary meals that they needed to ensure that they are that their bellies are filled, that they've got nutrition and nourishment there, so that their minds can be ready, so that they can be able to be in a learning state and an ability to be able to learn. The other thing was we support the development of a one-to-one student device policy and equity policy for the district. Dr. Noel Gabriel brought this up as we, in the first half of the year, about being able to have a one-to-one. This pandemic has shown a great divide in the respect of those who have and those who don't. And so at a division level, we were able to get CARES funds. And so we're able to get these devices and to get these MiFis, but how do we work to have a policy in place or some type of protocol in place, looking at the equity policy that we have for the division, as well as working with our internet providers in the area to work on a way. Many of them have programs like Cox Communication has their Connect to Compete and others. How can we get internet? And I know that the governor is working on, I know that there's some items in the budget for this General Assembly to take up in the respect of how can we have broadband internet across the Commonwealth, because in many of our rural communities, but also in our urban areas and our low-income urban areas, there are roadblocks to being able to have quality internet. And that in this virtual environment is showing to be a wide disadvantage. So how do we work to eliminate that and to reduce that as much as possible? The other item was support changes to the district student suspension and expulsion policies. The board will be taking that up for consideration. And that really provides a greater emphasis on our equity and restorative justice practices. I've worked and I've talked with many of our stakeholders in regards to this. I'm a strong proponent in restorative justice practices. I'm a strong proponent in mentoring and being able to get volunteers back into our buildings. Our kids, our students, our young scholars need these type of opportunities and need these types of exposures so that they can see the opportunities that they have presented before them. And so I'll continue to advocate and to ensure that we have necessary funds and that we also have partnerships that are in place to be able to support that through and through. School construction and maintenance is one of the last items I have here. As you know, for years, Norfolk Public Schools, literally, we've been operating for a couple of years here off of about a $3 million maintenance budget. We have a sharing agreement in regards to revenue as to how we do our budget. I do think our members of the City Council who have supported, we've had an increase in funding in the operating budget year over year. And one of the last acts that our former mayor, Paul Frame, did before he retired from office was to ensure that we had, ensure that we were able to build several new buildings. But it is no surprise to anyone. The average age of our buildings in Norfolk Public Schools is about 50 years old. And so we're in the process of looking at an education plan. That plan was supposed to be completed by June, but unfortunately, the pandemic kind of pushed us back. We were just beginning when we had to shut down. We were just beginning the process of our community engagement meetings and so forth. And so I know that the company that we have contracted with, the consultants there, will begin that process so that they can bring back their findings to us by the end of June, so that the board as a whole will be able to take that up and be able to talk about and to really have a courageous discussion around that one, and definitely after what that's been done, to begin to engage our colleagues and our counterparts over at City Hall on City Council in respects to how can we work together, because we can come up with a plan, but ultimately City Council controls the purse strings and the budget. And so being able to work together as a collective body to come up with a plan for how do we be able to restructure, consolidate, build new structures for our division until we can create world-class environments for our students. One of the items that we also have in here is that Booker T. Washington High School, I was able to secure $200,000 in the budget for their phase 1 of their feasibility study. And that's in progress right now. The task force will actually have the opportunity to be able to hear the updates on that at their advisory task force meeting, which will take place on this coming Monday. Sherwood Forest Elementary School is getting a brand new roof, and that's costing about $1,200,000 there, as well as an exterior walls. And so one of the things that you may have seen that originally we're going to be replacing windows, but there has been a revision to come back and say we actually need to work on the point up. And so the point up is actually looking at anywhere around the physical structure around the building where the brick or masonry may have shit, and it's created cracks or any crevices there in the respect of where, anything that shouldn't from the outside getting in. And so we are spending about $70,000 around that to ensure and to shore that up. And so a brand new roof, which will help with anything getting in there, any leaks, any potential mold or anything like that, that will eliminate that there. And we have several schools. And again, I just want to preface this here, that this is just Ward 3 schools that I'm talking about here as far as construction and maintenance. Also, Lindenwood Elementary School, their annex, which was added on, really had become an issue at that particular school. And so it was deemed that particular annex to the building needed to actually be taken down. And so that cost about $100,000. And so that annex has been is in the process of being removed off of Lindenwood Elementary School, which will be able to help, again, secure and seal that building there and give it some more longevity as well. On Booker T. Washington, also, their bleachers had been replaced. We had several schools that went through a bleacher replacement, as well as Booker T. Washington's baseball field has been redone. And we want to thank Mr. Ashley Avery and the Booker T. Washington Foundation and other partners for really coming together to help to work with this Norfolk Public Schools, as well as the city's Parks and Recreation to do that. Also, I voted to approve the development of the new MPS education plan, and that is currently in the budget, and that's what we're saying, that we're beginning to have community engagement in regards to conversations that will continue to move forward in regards to as we come up with a comprehensive plan as to how we will do school construction, maintenance, reconciliation, and those particular things for the future. And the last thing is to continue to advocate to increase and in the city's CIP, and that's a capital improvement plan. That's a budget to prioritize funding for schools within the greatest needs to support. and as well as safe and healthy learning environments within our school division. And so really, folks, that's the priorities that I've been working on there. And I leave that in the respect of really encouraging you, if there are items that you see and say, hey, you know, Carlos, I really would like to really think we should have a little bit more, or I think that we should have, you know, add something else as a priority there. Please reach out to me. Let me know. I'm definitely here. I'm looking forward to hearing from you all in the respect of how we can do more together to ensure that those things are in place. Again, for those who are joining, again, I'm Carlos Clanton. I'm your Ward 3 member, and I'm just kind of going over our priorities and giving you an update. Again, as I mentioned, that will be on our website. You'll have an opportunity to go to boardmemberclanton.com after 12 o'clock tomorrow, and you will see a interactive, and it's on the tab, Our Progress. I intend to make sure that you all can track and monitor as things that we're doing together, and how that we're making that progress as a board and how I'm representing you with that particular respect. And so I'm going to quickly change right here and see if there's anybody who has any additional comments or questions that may be around. I see we've got some folks who joined here, but I appreciate you all joining on for this Saturday morning and being able to participate in this here as I continue to commit as we move forward throughout this particular school year, being able to provide necessary information and support for you all, and keeping you abreast in regards to what's happening, how you can be involved, and what I'm doing there. And so with that, I've got a service project I'm going to get myself ready here for. I'm working at the food bank. I encourage you all, as we continue to move forward in this particular school year, that you reach out. You can do that. That's been flowing across the bottom of the screen here. I'm going to add a couple other different things here for you. You can also contact me, and this is my school board number, as well as my email. So you can definitely contact me at 757-756-6018, or you can email me at cclanton1@npsk12.com. I look forward to hearing from you all. I look forward to, you know, definitely I get back to folks when you send me information and so forth. I'm here to represent you in regards to you being your voice, and ultimately to cast your vote of the items that are in the best interest of the students, the staff members, and the community for which we're serving. Also, I encourage you, if you haven't done so, subscribe to my YouTube channel at Live for Carlos Clanton, so that you can receive updates. You can receive notifications when I'm going live and providing information to you, so forth there. So I have one last thing that I want to share out here for individuals. I want to congratulate Councilwoman Angela Williams Graves, who's now representing, which is the vast majority of Ward 3, is our new representative for the 90th House District. As many of you all know, and you're starting to hear the rumors around there now, that there will be a vacancy on City Council in Super Ward 7. And people have reached out and have asked about it, and really trying to figure out what my intentions are in regards to that. The New Journal and Guide actually did a story that listed some individuals about who may potentially be candidates for that. And so I want to publicly just address to my constituents and address to the community here at large that I am not seeking City Council or the City Council post at this particular point in time. I ran as a commitment to Norfolk Public Schools and to get our school division back on track. I ran for a commitment to our students to ensure that they had a learning environment that they could thrive in, and that they, when they walked out of those doors of our buildings, that they would be prepared for our community. I ran to champion on behalf of our teachers and our staff members to ensure that their voices are heard when we make policy decisions. We're in the middle of a pandemic. And I just can't say it within my heart, leaving the work that we need to do. I am committed. I am energized more than ever to do what is needed to ensure that we do what's in the best interest of all those. And so there's a time and a place for everything. And so at this point, my heart is in it for our students. I'm student-centered. I'm teacher-inspired. And I thank those who reached out and who've encouraged. But most importantly, at this particular point, I am all about what we need to do for Norfolk Public Schools, and working in hand with those on City Council to ensure that we can do what's in the best interests of our students, our community, working and collaborating together. So again, everyone, have a great Saturday. I appreciate you all. And I look forward to engaging with you and continue to move our district further and to ensuring that we can get our students back in school when it's safe to do so, and that we can do what's in best interest, and to ensure that we always keep our students at the center of all of our decision makers, and that we intend to let our staff members and our community know we appreciate you. Everyone, have a great, 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 great Saturday. It's a little cold out there. You can make it. All right, everybody, take care.